Okay, so today we're going to talk about the ABLE program. The ABLE program is a program that's available nationwide. Any state can decide to have an ABLE program. So we're going to talk about stuff that is relevant to all the states. And then we're going to, the second part of the training, we're going to actually focus on the ABLE program in California. And we're going to go to the website so you could see how to sign up for an ABLE account. And we are going to give you also resources. Now, just right off the bat, you don't go to a bank to open up an ABLE account. You will open up an ABLE account online. So when we go to CalABLE, we're going to show you how to open up an ABLE account. So next slide. Okay, but before I talk about the ABLE program, I want to review some of the resource limits with the SSI program and Medi-Cal programs. There are some Medi-Cal programs in California where resources matter. You have to have low countable resources in order to qualify for Medi-Cal. And of course, with SSI, you can't, and some of these Medi-Cal programs, you can't, if you're an individual, you can't have more than $2,000 in resources. If you're a couple and applying for SSI, you can't, or Medi-Cal, you can't have more than $3,000 in resources. But so when you get income, money that you get or unearned income, whatever it is, earned income, it's considered income in the month you receive it, and whatever is left becomes a resource the next month. So if you keep too much money in your bank account, it can make you over-resourced for the SSI program or the Medi-Cal program. And if you want to know more about SSI resources, there's a link here on the PowerPoint that you can go to learn more about resources. For those of you who do not know, this is just a side information. Starting in July of this year, the resource limit for Medi-Cal programs, non-MAGI Medi-Cal programs. That's MAGI is one Medi-Cal program, but there are other Medi-Cal programs that are not MAGI Medi-Cal programs. It's the programs that we deal with for people with disabilities. The resource limit for Medi-Cal is going to go up to $130,000 per person. And then by the year 2024, the Medi-Cal program is going to do away with a requirement of, they're not going to look at resources anymore. This is a really important change, but beware, if you have SSI and you have Medi-Cal, SSI still has these rules. SSI has not changed, so you have to be careful about your resources when you have SSI and Medi-Cal. So this is it. That if you have SSI, you can't have a lot of countable resources. You can't have, when are you going to ever be able to save for something? You won't, because if you're an individual, you can't have more than $2,000 in countable resources. And countable resources includes any cash you may have in the bank. And there are other things that count as resources. So you're going to see just how valuable this program is for everyone, but especially for people who are on SSI. Next slide. So the ABLE Act came out in 2014. It created tax advantage savings and investment programs for people with disabilities. States can agree to have an ABLE account or not. It's voluntary. And the money that is placed in an ABLE account, let's say I have an ABLE account, the money in my ABLE account won't count it won't affect my eligibility for SSI or Medi-Cal and some other programs that I'm going to talk about. So it's really important. It's not going to count as a resource. And that money I can use on what is called qualified disability expenses, such as I can buy a home, I can pay my mortgage, I can do repairs to my house, I can pay my gas, electricity, my phone, I can buy a car. I can pay for taxis and Ubers, and I can go on vacation. I can go to school and pay for it. There's so many things that you can do with the money that's in the ABLE account. Buy food. We'll talk more about qualified disability expenses. So next slide. Now, there are over 40 states who participate in ABLE. And the first link is a link that shows you what states allow out-of-state residents to open up an ABLE account in their state. So let's say, for example, I'm a California resident and Washington allows out-of-state people. So I'm not a resident of Washington, but I can open up an ABLE account in Washington. So this first link will tell me what states allow out-of-state residents to open up ABLE accounts. But you can only open up one ABLE account. So you have to decide what state you want to open up your ABLE account in the states that allow you to do that. The second link is a tool that allows you to compare 3 states, like what are their investment options, their costs, etc. And then the last link, you can search every state, the program in every state. Of course, you would want to search those that allow you to open an ABLE account in their state. So if Washington allows me to open up an ABLE account in Washington, I can open it up in Washington. I can't open up another one in California or anywhere else. Or I may decide I like California and I want to open it up in California. So let's go to the next slide. So when you're comparing states, consider what documents they're going to need to open up an account, what investments are offered, because you get to choose from the different investments that are offered in every state. What is going to cost you to maintain the account, the fees for having the investments, and there may be other requirements unique to that state. And there's more information. There's a link here that you can go to for things to consider when you're looking at other states to open up your ABLE account. Next slide. Okay, so to be eligible to open up an ABLE account, you have to have been disabled before the age of 26. So let's say that now, today, I learn about CalABLE. I'm 60 years old, let's say. But I was disabled at the age of 10. Do I qualify for the first criterion? Yes, because I was, despite the fact that I'm 60 now, I was disabled before the age of 26. I was disabled at the age of 10. And I have to show that I either have to be receiving SSI or Social Security disability insurance. It's another benefit that you can get, some people can get through Social Security. So one of those 2 benefits, or I can get a letter from a doctor that says that my physical and or mental disabilities result in marked and severe functional limitations that are expected to last at least a year. I can do that. Or perhaps my disability or disabilities are in the list of compassionate allowances. And if my disability is there, then I qualify. Or maybe my disability is in the Blue Book listing of impairments. So you would go to these 2 sites, these 2 links, to see if your disability is there in the severity that's required. So again, you have to definitely have been disabled before the age of 26 and receive SSI or SSDI or self-certify, or your condition is in the list of compassionate allowances, or your condition is in the Blue Book listings of impairment. I'm going to stop right now. I want to make sure that we all understand what the eligibility criteria is. There is a move to increase the age to 46, but it hasn't happened. And if they do increase the age to 46 rather than 26, it's going to open up the possibility for a lot of other people to have ABLE accounts. So any questions about the eligibility criteria? You might want to stop the recording. Question. Whoops, I think it's still recording. But let's see if there are any. Go to the next one. We're going to go to the next slide. Thank you. Okay, so more rules. This year, the maximum amount of money that one can put in an ABLE account is $16,000. There are some states that are a little different. Alaska allows you to put in $16,090, and Hawaii $14,820. If, however, I work and I don't participate in my employer's retirement plan, I can put more money into my CalABLE account. I can put the lesser of an amount equal to my annual gross salary, or up to $12,880. So what does that mean? If I have an ABLE account, I can put up to $16,000 plus, because the lesser would be $12,880 plus up to $12,880 into my ABLE account, for a total of $28,880. Remember, that's only, I can make that additional contribution of $12,880 because I'm working and I'm not participating in my employer's retirement plan. So next slide. What if you're contributing for a minor? Well, no, the owner of, someone asked, what if you're contributing it for a minor? The minor has to be working in order to add the additional amount, and not, so no, I mean, you know, unless your minor is working, for example, maybe 16, 17 years old, whatever, and they're working, then, and they're not participating in their employer's retirement plan, then yes, but not if, you know, the owner of the ABLE account is the person with a disability, whether it be a minor or an adult. Anyone could put money into my ABLE account. Friends, family, strangers, it doesn't matter who puts money in. But there's a maximum amount of money that you can have in an ABLE account at any given time. So some states will only allow you to have up to $235,000. Other states will allow the maximum of $529,000. California is one of those states that allows you to keep over $500,000 in your ABLE account. But if you have SSI, the rule is different. Next slide. If you have SSI, the maximum that you can have in your ABLE account is $100,000. And the contribution is yearly from January 1st to December 31st. That's the yearly amount that you can put in, 16,000. So what happens when you exceed 100,000 and you're on SSI? Well, your SSI is suspended until you spend the money in your ABLE account that will bring you below, you know, at or below 100,000. Your SSI will not be terminated no matter how long it takes you to spend it down to where you need to get it. Now, the CalABLE program, for example, will warn you. If you're on SSI, you have an ABLE account, and you're getting close to 100,000, it'll warn you. It'll say you're getting very close. And if you, let's say that you have 95,000 and you want to put another $10,000 in the ABLE account, it won't let you because you will go over the 100,000. So there are, you know, there are things that will help you remember, at least with the CalABLE program, not, you know, that you shouldn't be putting any more money into your ABLE account. Next slide. With SSI, for example, if someone gives me money, that's income that I have to report. Or if they put it in my bank account, that's income that I have to report. But if anyone puts money into my ABLE account, it's not counted as income to me. But if you have if you have earnings or money, that does count. The income that you get does count for the SSI program, but when you put that money into the ABLE account, it's no longer counted as a resource. In other words, you can't put money into you can't hide your income by putting it into an ABLE account. The SSI program is still looking at your income to determine your eligibility for SSI. But when people give you money and people put money directly into your ABLE account, it's not counted as income. There's something really important for people who are on SSI to know. When you're 18 or over and you're receiving SSI and you're living with other people, doesn't matter that they're relatives. The SSI program is expecting you to meet your fair share of food and shelter expenses. And if you're not, then the SSI program says, let's say it's me. They say, well, Maria, you're living with people who are helping pay for your food and your shelter. And that has a dollar value. And we're going to, and they use formulas. We're going to deduct a certain amount of money from the SSI we would have given you every month because you're receiving in-kind support and maintenance. And there's a really good publication about all of this. There's a link here that you can go to. I highly recommend that you look at it, read it. It's important. Why am I telling you about this? Because I had a case where father and son lived together, and the son's SSI was not enough to pay for his fair share of food and shelter. So dad opened up an ABLE account, and every month from the ABLE account, he would take money out from the ABLE account and his son's SSI from the bank so that his son would meet his fair share of food and shelter expenses. And therefore, the SSI program couldn't deduct that in-kind support and maintenance from his SSI every month. You can do that. But if you're going to take money out of the ABLE account for housing, it has to be used that month. In other words, it's taken out, and father would take out the money from the ABLE account and put it in his own account to pay to help, because that was money that he was getting from his son to pay for food and shelter. Next slide. So the having an ABLE account will not affect any federal housing assistance program. CalFresh, that's the Supplemental Nutrition and Assistance Program, the free application for federal student aid, Medicare, Medicaid, SSDI benefits. So that's an added benefit of having an ABLE account. Next slide. So the money in your ABLE account, you're going to choose your investment options, and every program has its own investment options. And the money in the account grows tax-free, another benefit of having the money in an ABLE account. Next slide. Okay. So who is the owner of the account? The person with the disability will always be the owner of the account, whether it be a minor or an adult. Like I said before, you can only have one ABLE account. If you have a 529 college savings plan, you can move money from that plan into your ABLE account without any penalty. Also, if you have a special needs trust or a pool special needs trust, you could move money from those accounts into the CalABLE without any penalty. Next slide. Okay, so I'm going to stop right now because the next thing I'm going to talk about are the expenses, what you can do with that money. You can leave it there and let it grow up to your limit, of course. Or you could spend it, and we're going to talk about what you could spend the money on. But before we do that, I want to answer some questions. I think there's some questions out there. Anything from the Spanish? Is there anything from the Spanish group? No? Okay. So we're going to go ahead. So we're going to talk about qualified disability expenses. Could you go to the prior slide, please? So this slide is really important because this is the definition of what a qualified disability expense is. It's anything, and it's for the benefit, the money is for the benefit of the person who owns the ABLE account, right? Anything that will help maintain or improve that person's health, independence, or quality of life. This is very broad. So we had someone ask a question, well, could we use the money in the ABLE account to take the family on a vacation? I said, no, this is for the benefit of the person. So you could use money from the ABLE account to pay the vacation expenses of the person who owns the ABLE account, but you can't use the ABLE account to buy gifts for other people or spend the money on other people. It's just for the person with a disability who owns the account. And so this definition is really important. Next slide. So, you know, there's so many things that you can spend this money on: housing, transportation. If you want to go back to school and you need something that you can't get from another agency, you could get it. You could pay for it through your ABLE account. Adaptive equipment. You buy a gym membership. Vacation. You know, hire a financial planner, an attorney, lots of other things. The links that you see here, the top links, www.able.nrc, the ABLE National Resource Center. I have a link to them in the back of the PowerPoint, then you're going to get it. It's a really great resource for a lot of information. And these two links are about qualified disability expenses, because they're the same in any state. A qualified disability expense is the same in California as it is in Washington, as it is in Hawaii. And the bottom link, there's information about qualified disability expenses on the CalABLE link. Next slide. What is not a qualified disability expense? So you can't spend the money on gambling, on alcohol, buying an illegal item, a gift for someone else other than the person who owns the ABLE account. And if you do spend money on non-qualified disability expenses, the expense is now subject to regular income taxes. There's a penalty. It could put your benefits at risk. So you really do not want to spend on non-qualified disability expenses. If you are on the fence as to whether or not something you want to spend the ABLE money on is a qualified disability expense, write to the ABLE program where you opened your ABLE account and ask them, I'm thinking of spending the money on this. And is that, you know, is that a qualified disability expense? And you're going to get it in writing. For example, California doesn't ask you what you spent the money on. They're not going to, they don't keep an accounting of every person who has an ABLE account and what you're spending the money on. But SSI may want to see what you're spending the money on, or the IRS may want to see what you're spending the money on. So, you know, you want to keep receipts of what you've spent your ABLE money on, like, so that if you're ever audited, you'll have that information. But for example, I want to repeat, the CalABLE program is not going to ask you for an accounting of what you're spending your money on. They're not going to do it. Next slide. You can have an ABLE account and a special needs trust. And I just put side by side the differences between a special needs trust and a CalABLE. You know, with a CalABLE account, if you have all your documents ready, you can open it up in maybe 20 minutes or less, an account. With a special needs trust, you're talking to an attorney who's going to create the trust. With a CalABLE account, you can manage your own account as a person with a disability, or you can designate an authorized legal representative And that person will manage the account, spend the money for you, and so forth. With a special needs trust, you have someone who's been appointed a trustee who's going to have sole discretion over how to spend that money. And there are rules in a special needs trust on what you can spend the money. It doesn't allow, special needs trusts don't allow to spend for food or housing, but you could do that with a CalABLE account. The cost of having an ABLE account is relatively low. The cost of having of setting up a special needs trust could be a lot of money. Next slide. For example, the CalABLE program, it's a $37 fee to have a CalABLE account, and there are fees related to the investment choices. The earnings are tax-free. The earnings in a special needs trust are taxed. So just some differences between them, but you can have both. You can have an ABLE account and you can have a special needs trust. So let's go to the next one. Okay, so up until now, we've talked about basics about the ABLE program and what rules apply generally to all the states, right, that have ABLE programs. Now we're going to look a little closely at the CalABLE program. But before I do that, I want to make sure there are no questions out there. Are there any questions pending? So we are actually going to take you right now to the CalABLE website so that you can look at it and see. So it's calable.ca.gov up there in the top left. This is the program in California. And it tells you can go to about CalABLE, who's eligible, the benefits, the qualified disability expenses, the different savings and investment choices that you have with CalABLE. If you want to know changes, so you can get a prepaid Visa card with CalABLE. And look, right here it says open an account. So what you would do is you would open an account. And let's scroll down a little so we could see. And it tells you what you're going to need, what documentation you're going to need for your to open an account. Your social security number, date of birth. If you're going to have an authorized legal representative, information on them. If you want to link a bank account with your CalABLE account, that makes it really easy to take money out of your ABLE account and put money into your ABLE account. You're going to need your bank account number and your routing number. And then, it talks about the CalABLE prepaid Visa card that you can ask for. And you can click Get Started, and you get started. And so you enroll now. You can hit enroll now, and then you would be enrolling, and you're going to have access to your ABLE account at any time. And it works a lot like when I don't know if any of you do online banking, but when I do online banking, let's say I have Bank of America, I have to put in my username, my password, and then some other things for security reasons, but pretty much that. And then, wow, suddenly I'm in my accounts, right? So that's how it's going to work. Okay, and so let's go. I just wanted to show you just how easy it is to open up an account in the CalABLE program. And there's a lot of good information, and there's profiles of people who have opened ABLE accounts and what they've been able to do, like Tyler Schultz. And like I said, you can always contact the CalABLE program. They have all kinds of videos on ABLE. You can download material. There's a guide and question and answer sheet. Also contact them. I would always say, you can call them, but if you want answers to questions, especially if you want to keep, you want to keep a paper trail of everything, I always email CalABLE support at calable.ca.gov. That's how I communicate with them. But there are different ways of communicating with them. So thank you. We're going to go back to the presentation. Okay, so we're going to go. So the CalABLE program, you're going to have low fees, easy to enroll. You can make contributions, by moving money from the CalABLE account to your checking account if you've linked your bank account with the ABLE account. Same with, both deposits and taking out money. California has something, the CalABLE program has something called e-gifting that we're going to talk about, and you can get a prepaid Visa card. You can't use this Visa card to take money out. You can use it. You use it to pay for qualified disability expenses. And you can upload more money onto your prepaid Visa card by going to your CalABLE account and doing it that way. Next slide. So, so who can open up an ABLE account for someone? If you have the person, if I'm a person with a disability, I can open up an ABLE account on my own. Or maybe there's a power of attorney, someone has power of attorney or conservator or a legal guardian, spouse, parent, sibling, grandparent, representative payee. Some of these latter ones were not categories of people who could, but things have changed in CalABLE recently. So yeah, so and I read here, I was preparing for this training, and I read that there was a question here in the question and answer sheets that they have. It says, are parents considered an authorized legal representative for an individual over 18? Parents qualify as authorized legal representatives by attesting they are the parent or legal guardian of the person who owns the account. A parent may continue as authorized legal representative beyond the beneficiary's 18th birthday. So that's good information. Next slide. So we're going to go, there we go. We've just saw that you have to, in order to open up an ABLE account, you have to have an initial investment of $25. That's really important. Next slide. We've provided you the link to the, the application process, or you can just go to www.calable.ca.gov. You're going to create a user ID and password. You're going to select delivery options. How do you want to receive your statements? If you want to receive paper statements with CalABLE, I believe they're quarterly, but they're going to charge you to get for you to receive paper statements. I think it's $5 a year or $10 a year to get paper statements, but you can look at your statements at any time online. It's just like a bank, right? You go onto your bank account and you look at your current statement or prior statements. You're going to have the same option with your ABLE account. You're going to choose the investment options that let's say I have $25 to invest to open up my ABLE account. I have to choose where that money is going to go. And we're going to talk about those investment options in a little while. Link my bank to my account, to my ABLE account if I want to, and request a prepaid Visa card if I want to. Okay. Aside from linking your bank account to your ABLE account, you can always ask the CalABLE to send money to you from your ABLE account, send a check. But it's going to cost, every time you ask the CalABLE program for a check, they're going to charge you $5. So for me, I mean, the easiest way to do it is, if possible, is to link your CalABLE account with your bank account. More information on that. And next slide. So the e-gifting, what is that? So this is language straight out of the CalABLE website. They say we offer a gifting tool that allows you, the person who owns the ABLE account, to ask friends, families, or maybe people you don't know that well, strangers even, to help you reach a financial goal. And you create an e-gift event. So you go on to you log on to your CalABLE account. There's a tab that says e-gift. You hit it, and you create a message to the people. And you obviously you're going to share the emails to that for these people, because they're going to get your message and information on how they can make an online contribution. So that's a really neat way to get people. So if you don't want that sweater for Christmas, you've gotten sweaters forever, and you'd rather get the money into your ABLE account, you can do that, right? Say, instead of giving me gifts, you know, like other kinds of gifts, I'd really like to have money in my ABLE account. So anyway, for whatever it is, whatever your goal is, you can do this. Next slide. Distributions, you can yeah, we've talked about this, $5 every time you want a check, but you can link it to your bank, so no problem. CalABLE does not track or verify whether what you're spending the money on is a qualified disability expense, so keep records. That's really important, right? Next slide. So what are the investment options with CalABLE? Every state is going to have different investment options. There's one that's called the FDIC federally insured portfolio. It's low risk, low interest bearing. It's almost like a checking account at a bank, right? You're not getting that. I mean, for all of us who have money in our checking accounts, you're not making much. And you know, and your money in a bank is federally insured up to a certain amount. So is this investment option. Now, that's the less risky option, right? Then we have 3 other investment options that have different percentages of stocks and bonds. So for the conservative portfolio, it's made up of 55% stocks, 25% bonds. I'm sorry, 20% stocks, 55% bonds, and 25 of other things. Moderate portfolio, you have 50% stocks, 45% bonds, and 5% other stuff. The aggressive portfolio, most of your money's in stocks and 20% bonds. Now these investments have already been chosen. You do not have to decide what stocks you want or what bonds you want. They're chosen for you. They're there. CalABLE, you can look at the history of these portfolios to see what they've been doing, you know, so you can actually look at historical information to see how these investment choices have done. So those are your options. So if I have $25 to put into my ABLE account, I may decide, and I don't like to take risk. I may decide I just want to put it in the FDIC insured portfolio. You can split the money up into different portfolios, right? And I believe that with the CalABLE program, you get to change your investment options twice a year. So next slide. If you want to get, sort of educate yourself about finances and stocks and bonds and all of that, there's a link here to a website about that. So really important, to look at this as you're figuring out, where you want to put your money and what investment choices, right? So there's as we said before, there's an annual fee of $37, and that $37 is divided by 12. So every month they take out a little bit. There are also fees for the investments, but they're, actually very low. And more information on all of that is in that link, especially for people who are on SSI. The cost of having a CalABLE account is nothing compared to the benefit of having being able to have up to $100,000 in your account. This is for people who are in SSI, because you can do a lot of things with that money that you could never do if you didn't if you were on SSI and you didn't have an ABLE account. Because the most you could have as an adult would be $2,000 of countable resources, including any money you have. But with the ABLE program, you're able to, someone on SSI is able to have 100,000. You can save up money to buy, buy things, do things that you couldn't do if you didn't have an ABLE account. Next slide. I want to talk about Medi-Cal. There's always this question about, well, what if I die and I have money in my ABLE account? What happens to it? Well, if, let's say I have an ABLE account, I die. Well, the money in the ABLE account could be used to pay for my funeral expenses, legal expenses, anything I may owe. That was a qualified disability expense can be used. And then what's left over in my ABLE account becomes part of my estate. So when people die and they leave personal and/or real property, that becomes the person's estate. And how that's divided depends on a number of factors. If you didn't leave a will or any type of other instrument like trust or you're living, whatever it is, if you didn't leave anything, then the state of California, for example, there are rules on who gets what, and it would go that way. But if you had a will or a trust, then the estate would be divided according to your wishes. So that's what happens. And next slide. The other thing that people worry about with Medi-Cal is estate recovery. I hear a lot of just misinformation out there about what Medi-Cal could do once you die. I hear things like they're going to take everything away from you when you die. So, and that scares people. It scares some people to the point that they're not going to get any health insurance, no Medi-Cal, because they're afraid. So it's really important for you to know the rules, and Medi-Cal can only attempt recovery of your estate under certain situations. All these things have to happen before it can do that. You have to have died at age 55 or older. So if I was receiving Medi-Cal and I died at age 40, Medi-Cal, the first criterion is not met, because I have to have died at 55 or older. So Medi-Cal can't recover if I die at 40. Also, Medi-Cal will not recover everything it paid for, only certain expenses like nursing facility services, home and community-based services, all those waivers, hospital related, IHSS also part of this, hospital expenses, drug expenses. Then the other thing that has to happen is that you have to have left an estate that would go into formal probate, which is currently your estate has to have a value of $166,250 or more. And the person who died, let's say I died, I'm not survived by a spouse or a registered domestic partner. I didn't leave a child under the age of 21 or a disabled child of any age. So all of these things need to happen before Medi-Cal will even can even say they want to recover, right? But you can always ask for a waiver hardship. There's a really good publication in Spanish and English from the California Advocates for Nursing Home Reform on these Medi-Cal estate recovery rules. Lonnie just put the information in English, and she'll put the one in Spanish. If you're concerned about Medi-Cal recovery, you really need to look at this so that you understand the rules, right? And you don't get scared and get off Medi-Cal. Next slide. So the CalABLE, if you have your ABLE account here in California, up to 100,000 of that money in your ABLE account is exempt from any money judgments from general creditors. So if someone sues me and they get, they win, 150,000, they can't go against my CalABLE account. And let's say I only have 90,000, I'm protected. They may be able to go against other things I may have, but not my ABLE account. There's more information on the Medi-Cal and ABLE, and there are links down here. Next slide. Resources, the ABLE National Resource Center, they have videos. So does CalABLE, videos on all kinds of things. These question and answer sheets, they're really important to look at. db101.org is also another place to find information on the ABLE program, and the Social Security Program Operations Manual System. These are instructions that Social Security representatives have to follow regarding the programs, and this is the one on the ABLE program. So we have come to the end of the presentation, and if there are any questions, this is the time to ask.
Having us, we will have all of the materials and any links and publication that Maria mentioned today sent over to Sonia, who then will turn all that information to you. So thank you, everyone. Thank you, Maria, for your wonderful
Thank you.
wealth of information. Thank you, Sonia, for hosting.
Absolutely. Before people go, though, I am going to ask folks to fill out our survey. It's really important to us. I'm Sonia Valenzuela with the Family Resource Center, and Gabriela is here as well. We want to make sure that folks provide us with their feedback, and this is just helps us to continue to better serve everyone. So just want to make sure that you all can see the survey. Let me know, because my screen is not showing it for me. I have two screens, and let me know, give me a thumbs up if you could actually see the survey links in the chat. It's not, I'm not able to see if it's showing up or not.
No,
I can't see the button where it says send. There we go.
There you go.
Great. And this is a recording. We will definitely get this up. We're a nonprofit, so it may take us a little while to get that up onto the FRC website, but we'll submit the PowerPoint and any other documentation that is shared with us with all of you. And we thank you very much for coming. Maria, thank you so much for your presentation. I'd actually never heard of the CalABLE account before, so it was really important for me as a staff person to also know more about this. Lonnie, Jessica, all of you from Disability Rights, I really appreciate it. Raymond, thank you for coming. I also want to thank our two interpreters. Thank you for helping our Spanish speakers have access to this very important information. We're really trying to close the disparity gap of understanding what is available for our families. So thank you, muchas gracias. And we appreciate you being here, and please fill out the survey. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sonia,
everyone,
for having us.
Absolutely. Thank you. Bye, everyone. Have a good night.
Thank
Take
you.
care.
Good night.
Gabriella, you and I could stay on.
I'll stay on.
Thank you.
Thank you.